Lovely. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, Africa, and warm welcome to the special program with me, Innocent. You can simply call me IP. Today, the 1st of October in the year 2022, and of course, we look at our continuation as we get to analyze the budget which was presented yesterday by the Finance Minister, Dr. Silumbe. And of course, the Minister has proposed a 167.3 billion kwacha, which is yet to be spent in the year 2023. And of course, among other developmentals that we have in our budget is that to talk about the pay-as-you-earn threshold, which is now trending at 4,800 kwacha from an amount of 4,500 kwacha in the previous or the current budget, if you wish. We shall be able to dive into other matters as we talk about matters to do with the borrowing in our country, something which has been in the talk on the main opposition party leaders, and including President Hakainde Hichilema himself when he was the opposition. He did vow not to borrow, but of course we've seen that the current budget is also proposing further more of the borrowing in order to transform the country. Is the borrowing of an amount which is $300 in the coming year justifiable or not? That's the topic we have this evening, and my guest on the program is a well-known face by now. His name is Dr. Richard Silumbe, who happens to be the president of the leadership movement. Doc, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to be on Movie TV. I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc. And this time around, you are coming at a time when the country is, digesting on the debate. The budget which was given yesterday to the country through the Minister of Finance, like I did mention earlier in my preamble. Let's begin from there. Just a general question to you: how do you look at the budget before we get into the main segments, or before we get to segment all these, presentation? How is the budget generally?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to just commend the New Dawn government in their budget for allowing meal allowances to be given back to the university students, because I've been a student before. I know how it feels, and especially when students are coming from a very poor background. They may not even afford to pay tuition fees, where government comes in and pays for them through loans. They cannot sustain their livelihood there. And many, especially the female folk, they resort to very bad acts such as prostitution just for them to sustain their living there. So it's a very commendable thing to at least help these young boys and girls in the institution to continue with the process of learning. That we commend. That being said, by and large, the whole budget does not sit well with the leadership movement, because leadership movement does not believe in consumption. We do not believe in borrowing money, moving around, asking for money to budget, to sustain our budget. All those things are offside with the leadership movement. We believe in production. We believe in sustainable development, not consumption, not puppeteering, being puppets, being taught what to do, asking, going around, kneeling down, asking for money. We do not see any future in that. First of all, we have now believed as leadership movement that the New Dawn government is a total failure. They are not going anywhere. They are completely stuck because their budget today is all about consumption. Look at their jobs, consumptive, non-productive jobs. Look at their statements. Not a word in the 2023 budget about creation of factories, creation of industries, creation of manufacturing centers. Nothing about that. Only consumption, only talking about how they can use that money. We even wonder why a person would accept or a nation would accept loans that have got a condition that this money should just be spent on feeding, on consumption, nothing about production. It means that you are colonized. It's like you have a household, you want assistance, you don't have money, then someone lends you a 10,000 kwacha, and he tells you that with this money, I don't want you to start a garden, I don't want you to start something to buy, you to start selling fitumbua. I don't want that. All I want is you to use this money for consumption, to be just buying food and everything and paying for your children to school. Then after 1 month, he comes and says, give me back the money. He definitely knows that you are not going to pay back the money because you have used it only for consumption. This is the same situation that we are in today, where government gets money and they tell them that this money is not meant for production, it's meant to support social systems, social services, nothing about production. And yet the same government is telling us that they are going, somehow they believe that they are going to pay back that loan. That is dreaming. This money is enslavement. We are sending poverty to future generations. We are not going to pay back that money, those loans. The New Dawn government has showed clearly that that money will be used for payments of salaries to non-productive jobs. They will be using it for consumption and nothing to do with production. Leadership movement has clearly stated that when we come into power, the first thing we're going to do is to talk production, to leave production. It will be about production. It's a production revolution. Why? Because we want to start producing something, putting the human capital to work, to interact with our natural resources, because human beings is the only guaranteed capital that a nation has. If you don't put the millions of young people to work into production, we start producing tangible products that we can sell to other countries and generate genuine money, genuine resources, such as such money that can spur sustainable development. We can fund whatever we want to fund. If we are not doing this, as it is depicted in the New Dawn government's budget, there is nothing about production, nothing relating to tangible products being produced thanks to budgeting or spending certain resources towards production, nothing about that. When we do that, we know that we are doomed as a country, and leadership movement has been clear. We do not believe in consumption. We have been in this game of leadership that doesn't produce, that has sold off this country for a long time. This is now 30 years. From the Kenneth Kaunda's government, we started pursuing a policy of sellouts, a policy of puppeteering, a policy where we do not believe in ourselves. We don't believe that we can have anything to be produced here in Zambia. This is why we have seen the Copper Belt, for instance, where in the 1990s we used to have so many social amenities. Today, when you go to the Copper Belt, it's as dry as it can be. It's like Baghdad, like a war zone. Whilst we are busy pleading to foreigners to come and continue abusing this country. We want self-sustainability. And how do we achieve self-sustainability? We need the government to spearhead production. No foreigner is going to produce for us. Whatever they are going to produce, if we are in the business of looking for foreign investors to come into this country, to come and settle and start producing, we know that we are on the losing part, because these people, we have seen what the New Dawn government is doing. They are on tax breaks and tax holidays. They produce, they get the profits, they take the profits to where they came from, and they leave you with only peanuts, payments for workers, and of which they don't even pay them the way they are supposed to pay them. This is the business of colonialism. We are colonized. We see how the New Dawn government brag about being capitalists. We as leadership movement, we laugh when we hear that. They are talking that they are capitalists. A capitalist who has natural resources such as copper should be a very powerful one. He should be producing. He should be putting his people to work. We produce, we have money, but look at the capitalists. They are moving around begging and so on and so forth, looking for loans, and they are changing semantics on the words. The same, it's all loan, but they will be telling you with different words now. Soft loan, we are going for a softer loan, hard loan, soft loan, it doesn't matter. They are loans, and we are moving in the roundabouts and roundabouts. We are not different from the PF government and previous governments that have pursued borrowing as the only way to sustain their government. We need production.
That you've kept on emphasizing, and I've followed you and your party manifesto, something which is, of a critical, agenda, or a critical, which is a core agenda in your political parties, to ensure that production is, prioritized if you are voted into office as president with your political party. And you've been actually advising the government, the UPND government, not only now, but even under the PF, you kept on emphasizing or advising them to ensure that production is prioritized if we are to see the meaningful development that we are yearning as a country. And today the UPND, in their manifesto, they are proposing to borrow, we're talking about $3 million in the coming year. And this money, I'm here to inform you, Doc, that is meant to ensure that production is enhanced by ensuring that we revamp the farming blocks that we have in our country. Are you not happy now that the UPND is somehow walking the talk, borrowing the money, and this money will not be for consumption, but will be channeled towards production, which you are talking about?
First of all, we have seen what the New Dawn government is made of. So much propaganda, nothing, so many statements. We heard about creation of state farms so that they can start producing cannabis as a cash crop. We are not seeing much of that. We have heard so many statements. Now when they tell us that they are borrowing so that they can enhance production, we highly doubt, because even if that was going to be the case, we have seen so much borrowing that is going to waste, that is going towards consumption. We are seeing so many recruitments that are non-productive, that do not provide the foundation for production. We want to see a government that leaves production, that talks production, that puts production at the center of economic development. For instance, when we are talking about production, we are talking about putting human capital, millions of young people, into tangible jobs, productive jobs. We are not talking about looking for money so that we can put these young people to work. We are talking about putting these young people to work and harvesting their labor through state farms in every district, harvesting their labor through ZNS-run mines, ZNS-run gold mines, ZNS-run manganese mines, ZNS-run copper mines dotted around this country, ZNS-run cobalt mines. These things we are talking about, putting these young people to work. Production is done, 1 year, 6 months training, during which we are able to produce all these products and be able to put them on the salaries after 1 year, 6 months. Essentially, this is the reason why we are talking about ZNS, because we know that ZNS has about 6 months training, Zambia Army about 9 months training, but we are buying time. We want 1 year, 6 months, so that through that period we would have produced so much. We would have produced cannabis in state farms, we would have produced maize, we would have produced all these things. We would have revamped nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. When you look at nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, it just needs a little money, a few millions of kwachas for it to become productive, to produce fertilizer that would be consumed throughout the country. But what have we done? We have chosen to make it, not to fund it, so that we can give contractors to buy fertilizer from Saudi Arabia and everywhere and bring into this country. That is not production. That is not the spirit of production. We need to revamp these industries, Mulungush Textiles and all these other manufacturing centers, so that we can generate genuine money. I do not believe or even subscribe to such kind of notion where you say, for us to to succeed or for us to produce, we need to go and borrow money and inject in production. That is a very wrong philosophy of production and doesn't even work. This is why you see, before they do it, they will do it just for a while and they will abandon it. And they will not succeed because the philosophy behind production is totally wrong. How do we revamp production? Production should be started with a strategic and sustainable way of growth. This is why leadership movement believes that there is no country on this earth that dropped from heaven with bags of money so that they can use that money and start production, and they are successful. All these countries.
Where the country is coming from. Look, when the UPND came in office, they came in with some claims that the country was run down by the PF in terms of the coffers. The coffers were empty, and that's the reason why they decided to go to IMF to go and borrow, so that possibly we can have a breather in terms of where to start from. So imagine, Doc, maybe you may be speaking out of, for lack of better ways, maybe out of ignorance, because you are not in government to understand the damage which is there at a moment. That's why you were saying no to borrowing money. But if you went there, if you sat there, Zambians or those in government will tell you that the coffers were not as maybe you anticipate. Where do you think you can get the money from if it's not borrowing?
First of all, let me take you from where we are coming from. As a country, from 1964, we inherited this country. Don't think that the Kenneth Kaunda government inherited bags of money, so much resources in this country. They never inherited that. But they had a spirit of production, and they tried their way to put this country to the path of production. This is why we are making so many things. We were producing so much in this country until the times when Kenneth Kaunda had to come into conflict with so many international forces, and he was given some sanctions. He had problems with South Africa, for instance, and that time we had difficulties. That was the time when people, because they could not understand the situation, that was the time when we had that wave of change, and the Chiluba government came into power. The Chiluba government had the same excuse that they didn't find anything. They actually purported that Kenneth Kaunda had stolen all the money, and they went to borrow. 10 years later, Chiluba's government, or President Chiluba, had to confess and said, my heart breaks when I imagine how we have destroyed this country, how we were cornered to sell all the industries. We sold Kapiri grass, we sold Mamba calories, we sold so many companies, the whole copper belt, and people died without getting their pension, without getting any pay. People committed suicide, and this is on record. Chiluba actually regretted that. Levi Mwanawasa came. He tried somehow to bring production into our culture. He talked about winter maize. Remember, before Levi Mwanawasa, we were seeing maize like mangoes. Once in a year, he brought about winter maize, and we got accustomed to winter maize, and we started producing. And this spirit was not enough for him because he was living in a system that does not believe in production. The MMD government was essentially a liberal government that doesn't put production first. It was basically about selling everything and leaving the private sector to run the show. And from there, President Banda came in. Then the PF government came in. They had the same excuse. They said they found empty coffers, therefore they had to borrow now. They made it a couch of borrowing. They were borrowing without reservations. They borrowed their way out until they borrowed no more. Now, the UPND government came into power. The same notion. No, there's nothing we can do. The coffers are empty, which is not true. At least now, because this is just a near past, 2021 is just nearby. We are able to recall what used to happen during that time. 12th August, they won. The new Dawn government came into into office. 30th of October, we got an announcement from Kingsley Chanda, the former ZRI commissioner. When these people were saying that they found empty coffers, we had information that they found actually 3 billion kwacha there lying in the coffers. Within a short period of time, the ZRI announced that they had collected about 15 billion kwacha within that month. And succeeding months, they were collecting more money. And we have targets, we have all these things. There is surely no reason for someone to say they inherited empty coffers. 1 year down the line, they are still borrowing and they are complaining that they inherited empty coffers. Who is going to keep bags of money for you when you are coming into power? It's impossible. No government will ever come and inherit money. It means that you are not ready for leadership, and you are not prepared to govern. This is why when leadership movement comes into power, that's when people are going to see that actually human beings are a blessed being who are founded in the image of Jehovah God. We have inherited certain qualities of creation, production, manufacturing, innovation, and all these things. We shouldn't be complaining about cash, currency. Why should you complain about currency? Because currency is only backed up by what you are able to produce. You need human capital, which we have in thousands. We need to put these young people to work. Just a little money we are collecting from ZRA, from Targets and Zikta, and all these sources of money can fund those programs. We can be productive. There is nothing difficult about digging manganese. There is nothing difficult about digging copper. Nothing difficult about picking gold in Kasenseri district. Meanwhile, what has the New Dawn government done? We have sent soldiers there to stop everyone from picking gold so that we wait for this so-called foreign investor sent by Jehovah God in their own imagination to come and develop Mother Zambia, to come and pick gold for us and sell and get all the profit, because we feel that only a foreigner can do these things for us. So this is the problem that we have. It is the problem of the mind. The kind of leadership that we have that does not believe in itself, that does not believe in the Zambian people. They do not know that development only comes from the people, the citizens themselves, their own sacrifice, their own toil, their own labor and commitment. When we harvest that labor, energy of the young people, interaction with our natural resources, production, that is the only guarantee for our future development.
The information you have, Doc, not as correct as we anticipate in terms of as to why government decided to halt some mining activities happening, be it in Northwestern Province and also part of the Copperbelt Province, Chile-Lavombe, among other places, where you think that the reason why government decided to halt some of these mining activities is because they are waiting for, a foreign investor to come and pump in money, or to come and take over the mines that we talk about. To the contrary, Doc, because the facts I have right now is that the reason why government decided to stop some mining activities is because of the massive corruption which they found the UPND administration. Hence, all they want to do is to clean up the system and start all over. That's what is there.
So now, if the New Dawn government has got that opportunity to start the mining, why are they going for borrowing? Then we have a problem with the government that keeps natural resources because of corruption, and they would rather go and borrow money and start spending. It doesn't make sense. We have a problem with the system. We have a problem with the kind of mindset that these so-called leaders who are running the government are having, because that is an opportunity. We need young people there. We need to establish a mine there. We get gold, we process, we sell, we gain revenue, we gain forex. That is an opportunity. We have uranium. I hear that uranium, when it is mined from Barrick, it is escorted by white people with pistols up to the airport, and it is taken over. And nothing, no one whispers about uranium. The last time I heard about uranium was when that person was being prosecuted, a Zambian, found with uranium. He was arrested, and judges were even making some jokes that, oh, don't even come near us. We hear that a teaspoon of uranium would power a submarine for 1 year. And they gave him 25 years imprisonment over natural resources that are Zambian, that we ourselves have to be benefiting. But this colonial mindset that has rendered all laws that we are having in the judiciary made by the Britons, and we follow those laws that don't even make sense. We should be owning our natural resources. The people who should be prosecuted are those people who are not paying tax, who are getting uranium free of charge, but because we are colonized, because we think that natural resources should be meant for foreign investors. This is the reason why we tolerate these things. And Zambians, unfortunately, they can't see this. They are suffering. We are suffering. We are looking for donors. We are looking for loans. Whilst God has blessed us with natural resources, which we just need to decide, put young people there. We mine, we sell copper, we sell manganese, we sell everything we want to sell, and gain forex, genuine money. Remember, money is a medium of exchange. Money shouldn't be gotten from somewhere for you to develop. Money should be generated with your own labor as human capital and the accessibility of our natural resources. You come up with products, those products you sell to other countries, and with that exchange, you gain forex, genuine money, because money is a medium of exchange. But you have nothing to offer. The New Dawn government has got nothing to offer to the world, and therefore they don't deserve money until they realize that they need to use the human capital. We start generating products that we can sell to other countries. Only then are we going to deserve money. Only then are we going to deserve all this money we want, because we have something to offer to the world. That's how development comes, not this confusion we are being told, and unfortunately people are brainwashed to even celebrate loans. Oh, we are the first one to get IMF. Imagine, we should be ashamed of ourselves as Zambians. We should be worrying when we hear that government has secured money from outside. We should be asking, probing them to say, why are you not using the vast labor? Why are you not using Zambians who are even willing to sacrifice? Do you know how many volunteers today are in nursing? How many teachers are volunteering despite being left out without being given jobs, but they are volunteering? How many more young people? When we saw that advert about census, and the whole Heroes Stadium was full of young people, they wanted to be given jobs. After that, those young people, some of them, they could even volunteer to do that for free. That is capital. That is money. That is the value that a wise government would tap in and put those young people to work. In millions, we establish production centers. We start producing and selling these products. 1 year, 6 months is very little, is too much of a short time. I hear many people when I'm on radio, any platform, they're saying, no, it is slavery. How can you put people 1 year, 6 months without payments? I laugh, because any person who has a company today, he will tell you that they are volunteers who would even come to say, I want to offer my service for free. That is the level of this country today. So it is very unwise for the government to keep on borrowing. When it has cheap labor, it can use these young people into systems where 1 year, 6 months, they can be working, they can produce, and after 1 year, 6 months, they are put on salaries, because we have produced gold, we have produced copper, we have produced manganese, we have produced cannabis, we have sold, gotten billions of kwachas, billions of dollars out. We have sold millions of metric tons of maize to Congo. That is the way you make money, not the way we are being taught by the New Dawn government, that we should just be moving around asking for money. That money, those loans and aid pumped into consumption, they even know that they will never pay back the loans. They are postponing problems to future generations, because we do not essentially think about the future generations. We don't think about our children and children's children. That's why we adopt these policies. This is why the PF, for instance, borrowed their heads off, because they don't care about what happens in the future. These guys who are in today, they are also following the same path. They are essentially the same. They are borrowing. They don't care. It's up to the children that will come in. Our children's children, they'll be in poverty. They'll be paying for the debt that we have consumed. We as leadership movement don't think like that. We need to face the problems head on. We need to sacrifice. We need to put young people to work with their labor, with their toil and sacrifice, and their mighty. We are going to produce tangible products that we can sell to other countries and be able to start accessing money into this country.
Dr. Silumbe will tell you that the issue of sacrificing, I think, it's more than enough now. You've given me a preamble or a very good history in terms of where we're coming from. When we changed the government in 1991 to usher in Dr. Frederick Chiluba and his government, the MMD, he also came in with the same, advice or an appealing message to Zambians that, look, the economy has been run down. So therefore, I call on Zambians that we need to tighten the belts altogether, because it's going to be rough, but somehow we're going to see that there will be results at the end of the tunnel. Zambians indeed listened to him and sacrificed. What happened was the issues due to the corruption that you've highlighted already right here on the platform. Again, it came in under the Manawas as well, who called on Zambians to sacrifice because the economy again was below the knees. So the issues of sacrificing has always been there. Under the Michael Sada's war administration, Zambians were told to tighten their belts, and under the Edgar Lungu's administration, and now under the UPND. So if you continue calling on Zambians that you need to sacrifice, for how long are you going to sacrifice?
Let me ask you one question. The kind of sacrifice you are talking about in the Chiluba government, did we see any national recruitment? Did we see any production there? There is no sacrifice. He was just talking. He was selling companies so that people can sacrifice without jobs. I am coming from Kapirimposh, where I saw the whole compound, the whole Kapiri collapsing, people dying of suicide, fathers dying because they can't find food, because their jobs have been taken. And he came there, Chiluba came there. Are you ready to sacrifice? Yes, I'm going to sell this company to foreigners. And they did. And what happened? They died of poverty. Their children, daughters, went into prostitution in the streets of Kapirimposhi. They all died with HIV/AIDS. And they died of HIV/AIDS. And this is the kind of disaster that happened. In every sector of the economy, there was serious destruction. There was serious rampage. There was no sacrifice. People were laid off to go and die in the streets. What type of sacrifice is that? We are talking about sacrifice where you are given a job. You are recruited for ZNS. You go and work. We set up mines where we can dig copper with picks and shovels, just as the Chinese and the Indians are digging copper in the copper belts. Along Kafue River there in Kapoto, people are digging, and we are telling ourselves that we cannot run the mines. No, we don't have capacity. These are the problems that we have. We have no foresight for the future. We are talking about sacrifice in terms of running the mines with picks and shovels, running state farms, producing production, and ZNS as the engine of production. We are talking about sacrifice through production, revamping nitrogen chemicals of Zambia, revamping Indeni, revamping Mulungushi textiles. That is sacrifice. Not where leaders, they tell you that you should sacrifice, like in the case of the New Dawn government. They are talking about sacrifice. They have removed subsidies from fuel, and they want you to sacrifice so that you can buy things at a very expensive amount, because fuel prices will now start skyrocketing. A person who sells fitumboa, who can now afford to buy flour, very soon they will no longer afford, because the cost of flour would be so expensive, because to make flour you need diesel, you need machinery, and those people will not afford. Therefore, they will remain poverty-stricken. They will no longer be in production. And this is how we kill production, because we do not know what we should put as priorities. That is the kind of sacrifice you are talking about, where people are told to go and die in poverty. There are no jobs, we can't recruit you, so sacrifice. That is a cheap sacrifice, which doesn't even amount to any results. We are talking about sacrifice by way of recruiting millions of young people, 4 million young people. We create state farms in every district. We become productive. We start producing cannabis. We sell to Western countries. We make billions of US dollars. We start ZNS mines. We produce gold. We sell. We produce manganese. We sell. We produce all these things. Within 1 year, 6 months, we would have produced so much. We would have made money and would have put all these people.
Are you not shocked, that the UPND has managed within its 1 year they've been in office, at least have managed to recruit, we're talking about over 20,000 civil servants who are on a payroll as we speak today. Are you not shocked, Doc, that again, the coming budget, the UPND again will go further to recruit more civil servants? The same jobs that you're talking about that you're going to create. And the UPND is doing it.
This is what I call joking, because when you are talking about production, those are jokes. Those are non-productive jobs. These are secondary non-productive jobs. These are jobs meant for consumption. This is why you see they are doing this, because somehow the money they have borrowed is not meant for production. It's meant for consumption. You recruit teachers. Teachers, what do they produce? They are very important, by the way. This does not mean they are not important, but they deserve better. We need to recruit teachers when we have prioritized production. This is why we criticize recruitment of civil servants, because these are non-productive jobs. We are talking about productive jobs, primary productive jobs, where people in the streets, whether you are educated or not educated, you have something to contribute to the development of this country through state farms, ZNS run mines. These people, when we recruit them, immediately they will either get a pick or a shovel, and they'll be working and products will be coming out. That is the priority we are talking about as leadership movement. After we have produced in the second year, that's when we'll be recruiting thousands of teachers. Because look at this. That's why when teachers are saying, no, leadership movement is insulting us, that we are not productive, I laugh, because what I tell them is that you are too important to be given those peanuts, like 6,000 kwacha. They say, umwana shenda tasha ninoku na yobwali. That's why when you go to South Africa, teachers are getting 30,000 kwacha. As we are accustomed to petty money, this is why we think we should be more of civil servants who are not doing anything, whilst we forget about people, millions of young people who can produce more money for us and get 30,000 kwacha per month, each one of us, because we are productive. When millions of young people are productive, it means that teachers, when we recruit them after 1 year, they'll be getting higher pays and they'll be getting salaries from a very sustainable source of production, because we have produced so much, because we have produced gold, because we have produced manganese. These young people, they are at the base of production. When we create the base of production, money is now flowing into the country because we are exporting more. Then we can start recruiting teachers and health workers, and we invest in production of medicines, not buying medicines from India. We need to start producing things here in Zambia. That's why we talk about production. We cannot appreciate 30,000 teachers or whatever number that they are coming up with, because we know that that is consumption. Very soon they will suffocate the civil service with no supply. It will call for more loans, more aid. It is a cycle of unproductivity, a cycle of colonialism. These people are colonized. There is no capitalism going on. There is only colonialism, where you are waiting for people to give you money to run your affairs because you don't have the base for production. We have grown so deep into believing that we don't even need to think about production. We only need to receive money. And, you know, we are not even ashamed. Systems are not even ashamed to ask, this money we are getting, how are we going to pay it back? No one questions that. Everyone is just happy. Oh, now salaries are coming. Now money has come. What about making of money? Where is the money being made in this country? That is the question we should be asking ourselves. That is a 1 million question Zambians should be asking. A government should be talking about how it should generate resources. Number one, how are we generating the resources? In the 2023 budget, nothing about that. We should be hearing that we are funding nitrogen chemicals of Zambia to produce 20 million bags of maize, of fertilizer to sell to Congo, for instance. We should be hearing in the budget that we are creating factories that will produce things that we are going to sell to other countries. We should be hearing creation of manufacturing centers or ZNS run mines. That is a production system. But nothing about that, only consumption, and people are happy. Oh, this is a very good budget. Oh, now we are happy. We laugh as leadership movement, and we worry because our future generations are really learning very bad lessons, and we have a future that will be impoverished further because of the loans and not knowing how to generate resources.
You're using your slogan, local is laka, meaning your priority is to transform the lives of the local people using the local brains and the local energies out there. I'll ask you this question, Dr. Richard Silumbe, to answer on behalf of the Zambians out there who are watching you, most people, those who are into business. How do you intend to, first of all, protect the local businesses, and also, secondly, how you intend also to empower the local businessmen and women we have in this country?
Before I can answer that, let me take you the background, where we are coming from. We are coming from governments that are against businesses. We can give, we can sample the PF, for instance. How many governments, how many businesses they killed? They killed the Post, the Mighty Post. They killed it. The paper that digs deeper. A very good brand. They killed it. Money not from political corruption, money, hard-earned resources, they killed it. They went on to kill Chimsoro, for instance, because of their connotation that all is linked with the opposition. They killed that business. They went on to pounce on Movie TV, which by the way should have been bigger by now, but they dwarfed the growth. They dwarfed the growth of Prime TV. These are the lessons that we should be learning from. We, as leadership movement, believe that those were big crimes. Actually, with the leadership movement, anyone who touches businesses, local businesses, he has gone against the state, because we want to protect from the smallest business to the biggest business in this country, whether they are affiliated to other political parties, because their money is Zambian money. We need to ensure that we give tax breaks and tax holidays to Zambian businesses for them to grow bigger and better, whilst we allow foreign investors pay the normal tax. They need to pay the tax that we deserve to get from them, because we know that these are not good Samaritans sent by Jehovah God to come and develop Mother Zambia. They are coming here as conquerors, as opportunists to come and reap out of this country and leave this country worse than they found it. So we need to put Zambia first. This is why leadership movement has been clear. We want to give tax breaks and tax holidays to Zambian businesses, whilst we tax foreigners. Imagine today, these foreign companies, they pay 0.06%. We saw how the mining sector was being favored by the New Dawn government. When they just came into power, they said, oh, we are going to give tax rebates to the mining sector so that they can produce more copper and expand and employ more people. What did we get after 12 months? We got lower production of copper by 8%. Employees in the copper belt are crying. They have spent 3 months without pay. These are people whom we have given even the leeway to get all the profits. But the question is, how did we think that these people who are going to employ more workers? Because they are not Zambians. They don't care about Zambia. They came here to make money. If you tell them that get the profit, they'll keep the profit. And by the way, today the copper prices are high, so they don't need to produce more copper. Just a little, they get all the profits, and they go. Where they are coming from, in Switzerland, for instance, we hear that they don't pay for electricity bill, people there. Citizens don't pay for water bills. if you have no job, you still get a salary because they are powered by Copper Belt money. All the money from the Copper Belt goes there. That's where they are coming from. And we are here saying, no, we are going to tax only 0.06%. Imagine when you are getting above 5,000 kwacha, you pay about 35% tax. And yet, a company, foreign company, that makes billions of dollars of profit, more than the budget, you tax it 0.00 something. And you even say, even that one is not enough. We want you to grow, so keep that profit. Meanwhile, we are killing Zambian companies, Zambian businesses. Someone who just start off with a small business, ZRI will be on them. They will get the taxes from them. If they don't pay, they can even pounce on them and get everything. Like what happened to the Post? On the precept that though they are not paying tax, what type of tax do they need to pay? They don't need to pay any tax. We need to get taxes from foreign businesses, and they should be given tax holidays and tax breaks so that they can grow bigger and better. We want Zambian companies, Zambian businesses to grow bigger and better. That's the only way we can become a giant nation, because these countries that are big today, it's because they protect their companies. Remember when Donald Trump was asked about the sanctions that were given to Google and Facebook, he said, I don't like these companies. They are always against me, but for one reason, that they are American businesses, I am going to protect them. And he sanctioned the European Union because they put their businesses first. Us, we have this notion of pulling down. We feel bad when our fellow people are developing. We always want to bring them down. Even people who have gone into politics as poor people, look at the PF composition of those politicians. Very poor. They go there, they become rich. Suddenly they become envious. They want to destroy companies that are brought forth by sheer innovation, sheer willpower, and sacrifice. This is the kind of mentality that we should get rid of as Zambians if we are to succeed as a country.
We've got a very bad examples that we can cite where we've seen even some Chinese, nationals are coming into this country and embark themselves into block making, business, rearing chickens, you can name them. Indians are always in this country, also making blocks, for example. And I remember in 2016, when Honorable Shimbakambwili was the Minister of Information, he did actually announce that government was going to put a ban to ensure that the blocks or chicken rearing is only reserved for Zambians. But up to now, we're talking about more than maybe 5 years, 8 years now, 7 years. That trend is still happening in this country. Does it mean that we can't do it without maybe the involvement of the Chinese? Remember again when Michael said when he was in opposition, he did inform Zambians that he was going to chase away all the Chinese people. But what happened after forming government? The Chinese were the first people to have a luncheon with him at State House.
The answer is very simple. We have not created an environment for the Zambian people to thrive, Zambian businesses to thrive. I've told you, when a company, a small Zambian company starts making blocks, you will see the council going there looking for tax. You will see ZRA there. You will see all kinds of systems, ZEMA, all these organizations to bring them down. But who goes to these foreign nationals? No one goes there. They are scared of them. They have given them tax holidays, and they blossom in a country where Zambian businesses should be blossoming, but we have allowed foreigners because we hate ourselves. We hate each other. We don't like to create an environment. This is why leadership movement is saying we are going to provide tax breaks and tax holidays to Zambian businesses, Zambian marketeers. Now we are going to see if a person who starts making blocks is not going to grow. If he has nowhere to pay tax, he has to fundamentally grow his business until it is strong enough for them to start paying tax. In that sense, when we are taxing companies, foreign companies like ShopRite, we have been talking about ShopRite for a long time. Look at how ShopRite does. When it comes into a combo, it establishes itself. What happens to the Zambians? They go and buy from ShopRite. They spend their last one kwacha, their last supper in ShopRite. they stop buying from Zambian businesses. Meanwhile, the councils and all these people, where do they get taxes? From the local businesses. They will be getting money from there until they close down. Meanwhile, the so-called ShopRite, no one goes there, and they are getting money, changing into dollars and sending to where they are coming from, in South Africa. We need to be getting 35% of their profit as tax so that we compensate for allowing these people to thrive as Zambians without tax, without any disturbance, so they can grow bigger and better, whilst we tax foreign businesses, because that tax should compensate for allowing these other companies to thrive and blossom. That is where we have gone wrong. We have allowed tax holidays to foreign businesses, whilst we don't talk about local businesses, local entrepreneurs. It is hard to do business in Zambia because everyone wants to bring a Zambian business down in this country. The colonialism has set up a system that just kills itself. It has self-destructive behavior. These are the things that we should be looking at and cleaning up if we are to succeed as a country. And above all, the government itself should spearhead in business. It should spearhead in generating resources. Contrary to the notion that government should not participate in business, government should participate in business. Show the local entrepreneurs how business is done. If government succeeds in production, then the locals will succeed. They will learn from there. If government does not succeed, then how can locals even improve? Look at the Ministry of Agriculture. Just the ministry itself. I've been to all these centers like the fisheries department in Chilanga. They cannot even afford to grow fish. They cannot afford to make fishing as a business. How else would you expect Zambians to learn? We need to set an example. This is why we are talking about ZNS, state farms, ZNS run mines, so that even those Jerabos in the copper belts, they will be producing copper. If they see ZNS digging along Kapoto there in Kapoto, they will be digging also and learn from ZNS and start producing. And millions of them will be doing that. If they are producing 1 kg of copper a day, millions of people producing 1 kg a day, we'll be talking about millions of kgs being produced a day. And by so doing, we would have revamped the business of production. That is what we need. We need government to participate in business, contrary to this colonial mindset that tells people that no, government has got no business in business. Look at the Eastern world. They run the businesses. This is why they are growing. This is why the future is in the East. The future is not in the West, because these guys, they are outdated. They made money from slave labor. Now they felt like their government should not participate in business. They have made money. They only give their private sectors loans for them to do business. They have money already. They benefited from slavery. This is why the UK has the largest gold reserve, and yet they have not even one mine. So this theft should be compensated by ourselves, pulling ourselves, government spearheading in business and producing and becoming a power of production.
Let me push in 2 questions before we leave Doc. The time is not with us. You did mention, as we started the program, that for you, one thing you give the UPND administration a kudos is over the reintroduction of meal allowances to the students. Now, I'm taking you back to what happened. I think that was last week when a motion, failed to go through in the National Assembly, because there was a motion which was suggesting to ensure that the bursaries are offered to both the students, the private sector, and also in public sector. Reason being that the gist of that motion was that we are coming from a background where only students in the public sector have been, are being considered by the government. But again, today we've got so many universities who are offering, lessons to the children in this country. Because look, like somebody told me that we don't have private school citizens and public school citizens. They are all citizens, and therefore bursaries should also be offered to all the students across across board. But that motion failed to take place. What does it mean? Well,
first of all, I don't think that the government has they can do that.
Yeah.
It is up to them. The education system today has evolved to a point whereby all these, many of the private sectors, they do have they do have bursaries, they do have support. I've been in the educational business. I have seen how institutions provide sponsorships and support and all that. So it is not so much of a bad thing that we can say only government should be dependent on, should be the one to spearhead in providing bursaries. Yeah. Even other private sectors as well as organizations have been in there. Right. We have seen so many sponsorships going around. So many organizations provide sponsorship, both at private universities and public universities. So that, to me, I have seen it. I don't think that is a problem. But by and large, because many people who are very brilliant, who cannot even afford to go to a private to a private university, they go to University of Zambia, and there they are all dependent on government bursaries. So if they go there and they are given bursary and they are not given meal allowances, then it becomes a problem. So we think that it was a good move to support those young, brilliant boys at the University of Zambia with meal allowances, because we want them to progress, we want them to prosper, and we want them to actually deliver and be able to support the country in future.
Let's end with the increment in CDF. We are coming from an amount of 25.7 million kwacha per constituency, and now the amount has been increased to 28.3 million kwacha per constituency. Does this give hope to with regards to, for example, development at constituent level?
First of all, we have seen what has happened in the past 12 months. There is a total failure in terms of CDF. We hear that CDF is being delivered in many places. It hasn't been delivered. Very little money has been spent. At least almost half of it hasn't been spent. We don't even understand where the New Dawn government found actually the reason to increase CDF, because it doesn't make sense. How do you increase a payment that has not even been used? A normal assessment should say that we could not manage this amount, therefore, actually, the money that is going into the other year should be reduced a bit because we have surplus already. That is the normal way of management. We cannot expect surplus money plus an increment. It doesn't make sense. We have not seen CDF work. A bunch of drunkards brought together to form a cooperative, and they have been cadres for their life, and somehow you want to make them businessmen. Doesn't make sense. You need to fund businesses who know where they are going, and they know that they want to do business. They are innovators, and so on and so forth. You don't get people from political rallies. You say, form cooperatives, we are giving you 1 million kwacha. They are not going to deliver. We have seen this happen. This is not empowerment. It has never bared any fruits. It is consumption. We need real empowerment, and that is what we expect to see. CDF at the moment, we don't see any assessment that shows that it is a success, and we don't see any basis for increasing it until the New Dawn government shows us that they have applied CDF in a right way, and we see examples of its success stories. Then we'll be able to support it.
Doc, thank you so much. We appreciate you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We end our program this evening. I've been hosting Dr. Richard Silumbe, who happens to be the president of the Leadership Movement. You can follow the program on social media page in case you just joined us. After the live feed, you are able to follow the entire episode. Tomorrow, there will be a repeat of this particular program. Thank you so much. Up next is the news with Tracy Mwansa. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.